I couldn't stop him, and though I put up my hand to cast a ward, nothing happened. That hand, that dead hand, closed around mine and held fast. A moment later, his, Dagoth Ur's, other hand moved forward and clasped against mine, palm to palm. I thought his touch would be cold, but it was exactly the opposite. It burned horribly, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't pull away. "You don't understand," came his voice, lordly, lofty, almost disappointed, as if I were merely some acolyte who didn't understand the grand magic he was teaching me. "But in time, you will. Look." The second hand came away, and with the first he turned mine back and forth. The thinnest outline of a beetle lay on both sides. Black at first, but after a second it faded to a lighter color, though it stood out against the gray of my skin. A brand, the thought arrived in my head. And then I was suddenly painfully awake. I looked instantly at my right hand, and the beetle mark was there. My heart thumped hard and fast in my chest as I stared at the outline on my hand. Clear and present, and now completely undeniable. Something was happening, and it couldn't be brushed away anymore. But what was this brand supposed to accomplish? What was it supposed to mean? I remember my mother saying once that it was the symbol of the 6th house. But the greater part of that talk was on how one had to watch their step in that time. Speaking in terms of one's mind, that is. Sadrith, if we did not take care, we risked falling under his influence. We were too close to Red Mountain, too close to the source of all those ills, to not have care for such things. He was a liar, my girl, a liar, and a demon. And then, that was it. She spoke no more of him. I always got the idea that they thought relegating his name to the past was the best way to ensure he didn't return, and so she refused to speak more to me on the subject. And I couldn't ask the Khajiit because they didn't know about him. In circles, these thoughts ran, my heart fluttering painfully in my chest as the panic swelled. I stumbled out of bed and out of the room. I didn't look at the mask as I passed it, and there was no feeling of being watched or being aware of it. Once out, I turned right to the alchemy table. A healing potion, perhaps, or something to make me go back to sleep, or... No, I thought then, something to make me stay awake, because clearly sleeping was dangerous now. After a few shaky moments spent grabbing for ingredients, I went with a healing potion for the pain, and a sip of sleeping tree sap. Just one, just enough to slow my racing heart, and thankfully it worked. 8th of Sun's Dusk, 4th Era, 202. For a few days, it seemed that nothing would happen, that I could finally relax and lay down the fears the mark had given me. It pulsed hot at times, but as I kept it covered by a glove, there was at least the comfort that no one else would see it. The mass stayed silent. There were no strange dreams, no bells, nothing to speak of that could be called his influence, and I was relieved, so very relieved to think that this might be it. Perhaps the mask lent madness over time to those who handled it. Perhaps it was something else, but either way it had gone cold. But then, after another night of poor sleep, I decided I would go to Master Neloth and ask what might be going on with the mark on my hand. He might not be entirely helpful, but he wouldn't go rushing about to shout to everyone about what had happened. His disinterest in everything but his experiments was useful in that way, so I thought I should bring him a heartstone. A few of them at least, sort of a bribe to make sure the time he spent speaking to me wouldn't be complained about later, which I understand. He is a Telvanni. I went into the smithing room and searched through the barrels. I was always forgetting which one was which, though I tried to keep the ingots separated by type of metal to make things easier. Eventually, I came to the barrel that held the collection of heartstones I'd been hoarding. I'd forgotten about them. Honestly, I had. It's a sort of thing that happens. Even when something is important, it can still fly right out of my head if it's not something I think of or use every day. And even then, I should have known. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. The damn barrel was nearly empty. My chest tightened, and while I soothed myself with the thought that it might just be a thief, there was still that doubt in the back of my mind. I went back to the mannequin I'd placed the mask on. My hands were shaking, and for a moment I dared to hope that I had merely misunderstood, or that I'd moved the heartstones and forgotten where I had put them. But even now, what happened when I met the dead slits where eyes might once have been, it is burned into my mind.
I feel the fear in you, but there is no need for it, Dragonborn. You see the ashes our people have burned into, the pain and the suffering, and the threat to their remnant that even now you see not approaching from the Somerset Isles. Let the Thalmor come, for we are waiting. We shall lay waste to their armies, break their spirits, and bring terror to them, the like of which the Stormcloak Rebellion could never dream of. They have laid low the Empire, but their sights are set now on our people. And that, Dragonborn, that is a sin they will perish for. All I ask for now is that you use what I have given you. Put forth your will and burn these pretenders to ashes, and we shall be the instrument that plays the symphony of their death.
What should be frightening is not the voice. Not what he said we would do. It's that after he shed the whispering and actually spoke to me, I'm not afraid anymore. What's happening to me?